welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so glad to share with you some knowledge about the educational system in the Philippines or here in the Philippines. And we will be talking about these 5 topics. One is to identify the purposes and objectives of establishing the educational system in the country. Number 2, distinguish practices in the basic education sector that support the purposes and objectives of establishing educational system in the country. Number 3, explain how the basic education in the country is established, supported, and maintained according to the 1978 Philippine Constitution. Number 4, how the government ensures quality basic education access. And number 5, how the government responds to the current demands in the basic education sector. Let's start with the number 1, purposes and objectives of educational system. We have here economic development and social progress. To achieve and maintain an accelerating rate of economic development and social progress, our country, the Philippines, is still considered to some that still belong in a third world country. We may not have yet achieved the final outcome, yet the purpose of education still exists. And progress is one of the reasons why there is a purpose in our educational system. Another is the enjoyment of the benefits of growth. It is to ensure the maximum participation of all the people in the attainment and enjoyment of the benefits of such growth. Our government's aim is for its people's enjoyment for attaining this. If we could only attain it, then we could surely enjoy its benefits. Next is unity in a cultural, moral, and spiritual values. It is to achieve and strengthen national unity and consciousness and preserve, develop, and promote desirable cultural, moral, and spiritual values in a changing world. There is a term called desirable. We want to achieve and strengthen the national unity by promoting our culture, moral, and spiritual values. Filipinos are basically godly people. This is a Christian country. We all have our freedom to believe what we want to believe when it comes to spiritual values. Gladly to say that our education system does not prohibit any beliefs to become a hinder for educational attainment. In fact, they consider all believers of whatever denominations or sect you belong to, as long as it is desirable and for the good of humanity. Let's go on to the practices in the basic education sector based in the purposes and objectives. One is to provide general education. Education is one of the basic necessities needed by everyone. Our government was mandated to provide general education that will assist each Filipino citizens and those who are allowed by law to avail it in the peculiar ecology of his own society and acquire the essential educational foundation of his development into productivity and its versatility. 2 is to train manpower for national development. This objective will ensure development not only manpower but also of our nations. Hence, it will result to our economic and leadership stability. Next is develop leadership for a quality human life. The quality of human life and its leadership improvement will be determined by the quality of our education system. Next is respond effectively through planning and evaluation. Needs are always changing, for there are no perfect conditions to any situations. Our educational system must respond effectively through planning and evaluation. Let's go on to the basic education in 1978 Philippine Constitution. According to Section 1, Right of all citizens, it says that the state shall protect and promote the right of all citizens to quality education at all levels, and shall take appropriate steps to make such education accessible to all, regardless of gender, color, beliefs, religion, or identity. All citizens have the right for the quality education, and it must be accessible to all. According to Section 2, Relevance, compulsory, and freedom. Be relevant to the society and maintain the free public education in the elementary and high school levels. 1. Establish, maintain, and support a complete, adequate, and integrated system of education relevant to the needs of the people and society. Establish and maintain a system of free public education in the elementary and high school levels without limiting the natural right of parents to rear their children. Elementary education is compulsory for all children of school age. So we have here the right to academic freedom, compulsory education, and free education. It says here scholarship. It is to establish and maintain a system of scholarship grants, student loan programs, subsidies, and other incentives which shall be available to deserving students in both public and private schools, especially to the unprivileged. Encourage non-formal, informal, and indigenous learning systems, as well as self-learning, independent, and out-of-school study programs, particularly those that respond to community needs, and provide adult citizens, disabled, and out-of-school youth with training in civics, vocational efficiency, and other skills. 4. Government ensures quality basic education access through having the rights of parents and teachers in the formulation and efficient implementation of educational programs, as well as the right to access to any official record relating to the children who are under their parental responsibility. The right to receive competent instruction, relevant and conducive to their full development as persons with human dignity. The right to free expression of opinions and suggestions. The right to form, establish, join, and participate in organizations to foster their intellectual, cultural, spiritual, and physical growth and development. The right to be free from involuntary contributions. Another is the right of all school personnel. School personnel have their own rights as well, like free legal services when charged in an administrative, civil, or criminal proceedings. The right to establish, join, and maintain labor organizations and or professional and self-regulating organizations of their choice to promote their welfare and defend their interest. Next is special rights. It talks about academic staff. Further to the rights mentioned in the preceding section, every member of the teaching or academic staff shall enjoy the following rights or privileges, like the right to be free from compulsory assignments not related to their duties, the right to intellectual property. Another is to no to overcrowding classroom facilities. Policymakers can begin to avoid this problem by drafting master plans that refuse to tolerate even slight overcrowding. This process must be ongoing and maintenance will be necessary, as new housing developments can force shifts in school capacities. Dedicated task forces of lawmakers can stay on top of such changes. Another is make funding schools a priority. It's a matter of priorities. Policymakers should focus not only on funding for building new schools and improving older buildings, but also on increasing funding for teachers, particularly in low income areas. Since many teachers choose to work in affluent areas because of the potential for better pay or working conditions, the quality of teaching in poorer schools can suffer. If policymakers and school officials can work together to attract and retain teachers at such schools, students with greater educational needs will benefit from the improved teaching quality. Now let's go on to number 5, government response to the current demands in the basic education sector. One is the internet connection and learning devices. Based on the Philippine higher education sector in the time of COVID-19, the country have implemented proactive policies for the continuance of education despite the closure of educational facilities. These policies include modified forms of online learnings that aim to facilitate student learning activities. Online learning might be in terms of synchronous, real-time lectures and time-based outcomes assessments, or asynchronous, delayed-time activities like pre-recorded video lectures and time-independent assessments. So my comments on this are: the access to the internet connection and learning devices continued to be a privilege up to this day, placing those with poor internet access at a disadvantage when it comes to online classes. For a better picture, 45% Filipino citizens, or 46 million, and 74%, or 34,500 of public schools do not have access to the internet. Since there is a lack of human interaction in the learning process, students may learn less in such setup as opposed to those in the traditional classroom. There are certain level of capacity of how long or hours that the students can stay in front of the computer. It is not health wise to stay all day long in the internet, mobile, or computer. Examples are obesity, cyberbullying, anxiety or panic, or eye problem. I hope you learn a lot in our lecture today. God bless everyone.